Some of the Germans had worked as cab drivers and waiters in London. So some of them knew a little English, and some of them, this is crazy, one of the guys met his old barber. I was like, fucking Fritz! I mean it. And he sat down to get a shave. I wish I was lying. And the guy says, I'm shaving you. I could cut your throat, save some bullets. That's a real story.
History, I'd like to follow me down the rabbit hole. History, I'd like to, frankly, I want to know.
Hello, and welcome to HILF, History I'd Like to Fuck, where history is a party and everybody's coming. I am your host, Dawn Brody. And this is the recording from HILF Live, which happened on December 11th, 2024 at Flappers Comedy Club in Burbank, California. And it was so much fun. Oh, I was joined by some previous guests and gads of friends and even some super fans who flew into town just for the occasion. Now, what you won't hear is me being introduced by the incomparable Helen Shepard, who you remember, she was the very first guest, very first episode on Frankenstein. She's so funny. And then there's also an additional 40 minutes after my HILF that I spent with the crowd playing history quiz games and catching up with previous guests like Ryan Keeley, right? The adult film star who was also my guest for the episode on Jesse James, for example. She joins me on stage to talk about how to ensure the ejaculation of a bull, right? I know, and I'm not withholding this whole show out of spite or anything, man. You can not only hear it, all right, every unedited minute, but there's a sexy 3-camera shoot video of it, girl. I know. You can even see a little bit of my belly, and I wore a red bandana. I have visual aids. It's great. So you can jump in bed with the pod right now on Patreon, and then you can go watch it, the whole video, right now, this second. And then if you don't already, you go follow the pod on Instagram, and you'll see clips, and then you'll also know the instant one of these live recordings is scheduled again. For now, pull up your seat in the front row. I got Jeff, my favorite server at the club, to bring you a beer. And let's get started.
If you're a big fan of HILF, can I hear you, please? Oh, man. Oh, Jeff, ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Jeff. Oh, he's the best in the business. To all of you. Oh, my God. It's a little bitty pour, though. It's kind of... Oh, my friends, if you are, and it sounds like you are, big fans of HILF, I'm not the only rock star on this stage tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, no. We have a lot of HILF guests here tonight. I'm gonna throw a little up. I'm not gonna name them all right now. I can't name them all right now. But my friends, we have right here in the front row, give it up, Ryan Keeley, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, we fucked Jesse James together, didn't we, Ryan? And you were so shy, and you were so uncomfortable with all of that dirty talk, and yet we plunged through. We plunged through together. And can you imagine, right behind adult film star Ryan Keeley is my old neighbor Zari from the condo. Zari. Yes, from the Iranian Revolution. And you are with your son, Amir. My God, I love you so much. We get our nails done and have lunch regularly. I wasn't lying when I said we were friends. Look at right over here, Lauren Pritchard. Yes, for Joan of Arc. She brought me a box of croissants and 2 bottles of champagne. And we drank them both. Well, and I don't have any favorites. But technically, the HILF right over here, that'd be the husband I like to fuck, ladies and gentlemen. Andrew Mulvey. Oh, yes. Yes. 2 episodes, and he put a baby in me. So generous, I thought. And listen, and we've got bona fide fans, my friends. I am honored to introduce Josh and Savannah right over here. They flew here. They flew here to see me. He brought me a present. It was a book by Mark Twain, and I got all tingly when I opened it. What a delight. And as we are gathered here, friends, for this HILF, I want to give you, of course, my plan. Because I hate to go forward without a roadmap, right, Kelly? We got to know these things. And so here's my plan for our HILFing. We're live. I can see you. You can see me. I wore lipstick for this shit. We first are going to get into a brand new HILF. Never before been HILFed. HILF, I'm so excited to share with you guys. I'm going to throw up. I'm so excited. This was I knew I was going to do Frankenstein. That was always the thing right away. I knew I was going to introduce George Washington, and I haven't completely done him yet because I honestly get really uncomfy when I talk about him. Eventually, I did an episode where I mentioned George Washington a lot, and I just listened to it recently, and I'm really and it's not great audio, so I have to George Washington was a real man, and he wasn't made of dicks. And I'm not ready yet. But this one, the HILF I'm going to HILF for you guys live tonight was in my top 5. I'm surprised it took me this long. And when I realized that we were all going to be together in person, I was like, yes. That's the one. So we're going to HILF a new HILF. And then we're all going to fall in love a little bit. We're going to play games a lot. And then I'm going to show you some underwear. That's my plan. That's my plan. It's a good one. But I have to take this jacket off. It could be it is a good jacket, but it's too hot. You take yours off now. It's a onesie. Bold for a woman in your line of work, Ryan. Bold. Oh, my friends. This HILF that I have for you tonight is honestly, it is such a joy. I knew that the live show was going to be an exciting thing to do. And I kept forgetting about the technical stuff because I'm just so in love with this story. Oh, fuck. I might cry a little. It's okay. I have enough whiskey to get through it. And like any good HILF, right, this one is going to start with a story. So, ladies and gentlemen, come with me, please, to June 28th, 1914 in Sarajevo, Serbia. You fucking nerds. Oh, shit, we know it. Some of you are like, what do we know? What do we know? June 28th, 1914. Well, you and me, we're gathered on the streets of Sarajevo because we're stoked. Franz Ferdinand and his beautiful wife, Sophie, are in town. Hot fuck. Here's the hot goss about these two. All right. Franz is the heir apparent to the Austrian-Hungarian throne. He's the heir apparent. You know that she's holding her. Fucking sorry, this is a dark one for you. He's the heir apparent in part because his older cousin committed murder-suicide with his mistress. Right? And so it's kind of a oops surprise. And Sophie is stoked because she's lower born, girl. And that means that all these cunts wouldn't let her ride in his car or sit next to him at dinner. She's had 4 of his fucking babies. None of them get to be royalty. But he's not there as a king. He's here in Sarajevo as a knight, as like a military guy. So his bitch can ride along, right? It's allowed. So she's stoked. She's like, hell yeah, I'll go to Sarajevo. I get to ride in the car. Look at my hat. This is great, okay? And you and me, along the parade route here in Sarajevo, we're stoked because we get to celebrate that they own us now. It's a little complicated, right? But Austria-Hungary has just annexed Serbia. We know that word. It's not great. Gobbled it up. You're mine now. All right. So some of the folks on our parade route aren't as stoked about her hat as we might be. All right. And they're going through the parade route, and suddenly a young student, a revolutionary in a group called the Black Hand, hot, steps out with a grenade. I hate you fucks. Right? Throws a grenade. But as grenades do, it's a 1,000, 2,000 situation. The driver sees the grenade and so as it turns out, this grenade blows up the car behind Franz and Sophie. Right? And two people get very hurt, but they don't die. But they're like, what, how, wow. And the craziest thing about this whole story, you guys, is that Franz and Sophie go to their thing. Yeah, they had some fucking thing, and they went to that thing. Nuts. Then they come out of that thing, and they're like, what happened to those folks who got blown up? Are they all right? And they go, no. They're not doing great, but they're not dead. They're in the hospital. And Franz says, maybe we should go visit them. And Sophie says, great idea. Exactly, right? The people around him are like, I don't know. And one of their attendants says, no, I don't think we should go anywhere near those fucking people. They want to kill you. And they go, no. And then another guy, one of these Serbian guys says, wow, what do you think? Sarajevo's full of assassins? That's a quote. Wow, he says to Franz Ferdinand. Wow. What do you think? You're going to get killed here? And they go, wow, no, of course not. That'd be absurd. But we're not going to drive down the main route in our open air car, right? That'd be crazy. So when we get to this main intersection up here, we're going to hang a right, not go straight. Everybody? Great. And they get in the car, and great, except nobody told the driver. So they get to this main intersection, and the driver with Franz and Sophie goes through, and they, no! And he sees the cars behind him turn right, and so the driver goes, my bad, stops. Beep, beep. And in one of those crazy happenstances of history, friends, one of the assassin's conspirators is sitting on that corner in a coffee shop, sad as hell, because he didn't get to kill Franz Ferdinand today. God damn it. Crying in his espresso. You know what I mean? And then there he is. In an open-air car right in front of him. And this kid, Giervo Persip, stands up with his gun and shoots Franz Ferdinand and Sophie. And this is a very tragic story. But what the fuck is Franz doing with his hand? Oh, right, in this picture. It's a very like, get your hat isn't a big deal, buddy. It's not a great moment. But they're, both of them, dead within 1 hour. And, my friends, within 6 days of these two dying, the entire world is at war. It is in probably all your textbooks. This is the start of World War I. If we're going to try to find a start of World War I, it was the assassination of Franz Ferdinand in Serbia, right? But the fact is, all of these fucks been building up their military by 50% or more for like 10 years leading up to this. But it happens like this right away. 6 days, guys. 6 days in 1914, right? First thing is Germany goes, hey, Serbia, what the fuck, right? You fuck with Austria-Hungary, you fuck with us, right? And then Russia's like, don't do that to Serbia. They got annexed. They're mad. That's reasonable, right? I'm not kidding. This, right? Then 12 hours later, Belgium's like, we'd rather stay neutral, right? And then the French are like, well, what? We've always hated the Germans, right? They're in right away. And then the British are like, right, well, I think we could leave out if as long as you don't invade Belgium. Oh, shit, right? They went through Belgium. It was a fire through the... And off we go to war. Oh, now, friends, this is where I am going to draw my first name. Because as we go throughout the show, we are here, you and me, in the present. This is live. And part of the fun of being here in the present live and not on the podcast, it's kind of a choose your own adventure thing. If you fart, somebody smells it. So I have in this bucket of destiny the names of the current previous guests who are in attendance. Right? And I have no idea who I'm going to draw out of here. But when I do draw this person's name, I encourage them to come to the stage and help me with the next portion of this story. Oh no, it could be anyone. Oh, would you look at that? It's episode 1, Helen Shepherd. Oh, lovely. Wow. Helen said to me, great, Dawn, I'll introduce you and then I'll sit down and then I won't have to do anything else. And I said, unless I draw your name. Hello, Helen. I have your microphone beautifully camouflaged right here. There, welcome. Tell me about your boots. Wow.
They're from a Goodwill. They were like in the dollar sale.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Those are nice.
Can I just say, I did know what you were going to talk about then. I knew it was going to be the assassination of Franz Ferdinand.
You did?
Yeah, and now you're going to probably ask me something that I'm not going to know the answer to.
I don't know. This is, here's yours. All right. So what Helen is looking at, along with the rest of the audience, is a picture of me in the shower. I don't know why they laugh so hard. No, I'm just kidding. It's a map. It's a map of Europe at 1914. This is how things are all divvied up as our wonderful war begins. I like you, Joe, so much. I don't want this pole there.
Put this chair here for your coat because your coat's too cool to be on the ground.
God bless you. Can we give it up for Lauren Pritchard, ladies and gentlemen? It really is. It really is. And it's also too tight on my arms. I really wanted to do like a bam, drop it. And then you ever have one of those outfits in like an intimate moment where Ryan may speak to this. You really want to like have a moment, but then you're like, fuck these buttons. You know what I mean? And you thought you could, but you can't. So now you're like, sometimes it happens on stage. Okay. So this is the map of Europe at the beginning of World War I. You, Helen, in all of your British glory, I know you technically give a hoot about the red part.
Yeah.
Pretend for a moment you're the big glob of gray in the middle. You're Germany. Okay? You're Germany. You've decided you're going for it. You've picked this fight. These guys, the orange guys, Austria-Hungary, they're your buddies. And then some of these useless countries down here. Italy's like, nah, neutral. Ciao. Swiss is pink, because we all know. There's a big clitoral uselessness here. You're French, foutois, and up here, Russia, these are the bad guys, which means you're starting this horse shit surrounded. So, taking a look here, Helen, knowing, of course, as everyone does, the military tactics that happen next, what would you do? What is your military plan? You have a few boats, but boats aren't great yet. You have a few planes, but planes aren't great yet. What do you do here?
Are you asking me, like, historically what happens, or what would Helen do?
What would Helen do? Yes, I'll go ahead and do the history part. Let's hear what... I'll go ahead. Cover that part. I'm very curious what you would do.
I mean, I've got ban the bomb tattooed on me, so I wouldn't go to war in the
Good
first
news.
place. Yeah.
Good news, 1914.
I should be in charge.
Takes a look at this map and goes, no. Can't win this one. Don't want to. It's not a bad idea. Frankly, it would have been slightly more effective than the plan that they actually had. It may interest you to know that they had kind of anticipated this moment. Hey, what if fucking France and Russia are both mad at us at the same time? What would we do? And this guy named Schlieffen was like, I'll tell you exactly what we'll do. It's called the Schlieffen Plan. I know you was right on the tip of your tongue.
Schlieffen.
Schlieffen. You Schlieffen. I just met him. Anyway, Schlieffen was like, here's what we got to do in this situation, guys. 85% of our troops head here to France. That'll be easy. They're easy to beat, right? All they do is smoke and moan about stuff. And so they're like, we're going to we'll circle Paris. 85% of our troops get in there, circle Paris, done deal. Then all of us head over here to Russia with them 85% because they're done. And we're going to have this war wrapped up in 6 weeks. 6 weeks underlined in the plan. And they might actually, it's possible, if they had actually done that. But when they got there, all sorts of idiots happened. You guys know this is the good news. If you don't like the current Trump administration, this is the good news for you too, is that assholes surround themselves with what? More assholes. Yeah, and they start stabbing each other fast. And so this cunt, here, I'll show you. His name is Alexander von Kluck. This mother clucker. This is him. Alexander von Kluck was like, fuck the Schlieffen plan and fuck you. Right? He starts heading into Paris, and it was easy. Paris was actually kind of he was like, I think I can get it. But before they actually get to Paris, they're doing so well, and that guy fucking sucks, and you're ugly, and I think I can do what I want. And this guy, von Kluck, leaves a 30-mile gap in their line on the way to surround Paris. And you're from London. You know, they can actually fight, actually.
Yeah.
Right?
Pretty good at fighting.
And the Brits and the French are like, nah, mate. And they go, right? They go back, and these two start to go to a race to sea. And all of a sudden, Helen, on this whole line, from the English Channel to the Swiss Alps, you've got a continuous line of Germans versus English and French facing off against each other. Because the whole idea with war is you flank, right? You get around each other. And they kept doing this. I can't get around. 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 Building events 465 miles long, the Western Front, all along this blue line, and they dig in for trench warfare, and they get down and they get low. And you can go down and get low now, too. You're all done.
Thank you, sir.
But walk slow when you go, because we all want to watch you go. Wow. Isn't she gorgeous? So appropriate that I brought an ally on stage as we discuss these central powers. All right, so we talked about that. We talked about Van Kluck. We're in the trenches of World War I, ladies and gentlemen. This shit sucks. War has always sucked, but it's possible that the worst kind of suckiest warfare is trench warfare, right? If you had any romanticized idea about what war was prior to 1914, it was a horse. You got to ride horses. They brought a lot of horses, actually, to World War I for about 6 months. They were like, whoa, this isn't a horse's deal, right? You go in with a horse and one guy with a rifle, and you face off in a field, and you fight, and whoever wins gets that field. And maybe you die, but if you don't, you go home at the end of the night. There's an end to that battle. Trench warfare in World War I introduced to soldiers for the first time in history continuous, unending conflict. No breath, no break. It's loud as hell. Artillery is introduced. Machine guns are introduced. And these trenches were like, wait, what? Dig, 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 dig. There was no plan for a Western Front. No one had that in their book, right? And the reality of a trench warfare is this. You are down low in the mud, and if anything comes up above the level of the ground, it gets shot. Happens all the time. Your friends are falling, your helmet gets shot off your head, and it's really, really scary, right? And then, every once in a while, maybe twice a day, you hear, charge. And you jump out of that trench, and you run across an open field into machine gun fire. And you can't stay, or your commander will shoot you in the back, right? You run across a field through huge craters and probably the bodies of dead people you know. And if you survive long enough to get to the razor wire, then you crawl over the razor wire while they're throwing grenades at you and probably some planes, right? And if you happen to get through the razor wire, then you jump into the enemy trench and you get to enjoy hand-to-hand combat. And if you survive that, chances are within 24 hours, you will be running back into the trench you left. And you will do this again and again and again for months, not 6 weeks, guys. At the point our story continues, we have been in these trenches for 5 months. And it's December. And it's cold. It's really cold. And it's Christmas Eve. It's December 24th, 1914, man. And we have been doing this, and our friends are dead, and maybe we get a couple days to play soccer with them. We fucking find, and the horses were screaming, and we had to shoot the horses. It's awful. And on Christmas Eve, something crazy happens, which is just a little bit of silence, just a tiny, not total silence, but it quiets down a little bit, enough for the soldiers in either trench to hear more than just gunfire. And Joe, they hear this. What the fuck is that? And one of them starts to lean over. Do you hear that? Is it coming from our trench? No, I think it's coming. No, listen, there's voices too. And they hear, Salakt Nacht. We know that fucking song. And as they dare to just maybe peer as much as you can ever peer over a trench, they see lighted trees on the German parapets. Now, the stories that I'm going to tell you next together comprise what is known as the Christmas miracle of World War I. And one of the things I love most about this miracle is that it's true. The evidence is extraordinary. This absolutely happened. And when it comes to the definition of a miracle, it fits. A welcomed, inexplicable event that cannot be explained by the forces of science or nature. Something that can be interpreted as divine. They see these trees. These stories, by the way, have all been compiled. I'll share my source with you guys later. But this book is incredible. It's called Silent Night, and it is a collection of every existent letter, diary entry, newspaper report, personal account of this 48-hour period on the Western Front. So the trees are the first thing, and I don't know if you guys know this, Germans fuck with Christmas. Have you read this? Holy wow. If you haven't heard our Krampus episode, wow. The Germans are like, baby Jesus, big angry demon, we don't care. We'll do it all. We love it all. And we know there's a war going on. This shit sucks. That don't mean we can't get some trees up in here. You know what I mean? It didn't hurt at this particular moment. They kind of felt like they were winning. That never hurts anyone's holiday spirit, right? But they put up their trees and they start to sing. And the Brits and the French know those songs. They have the same songs. You want to know why? They got the same grandma. All right, Queen Victoria is the grandmother of Wilhelm II and George V. All right? And when you got the same grandma, you got some Christmas traditions, right? And as it turns out, both the Germans and the Allies had just gotten big presents from their royal families, their respective royal families, these really sexy little tins with a picture of princes on it, and it had cigarettes inside and chocolates and a little note, hope you don't die, lovely. and you know, they're feeling pretty good. And this is my favorite account from the many that existed on the Western Front of the first encounter on Christmas Eve. So they hear the Germans singing. And in this particular opposing trench, it was the Scots. Anyone been intimate with the Scots? They're extraordinary people. And the Scots hear the song, and they say, all right, we've got a song for you, right? And they start to sing this nasty body, sexy, I would have loved it, I'm sure. Lost to history exactly what it was. Some Scottish song about titty fucking on Christmas or something, right? That's my mind. That's what it is. Right? And the Germans, some of them, know enough English that they're like, woo, that's a great one. And they laugh, and they say, we loved it, we loved it. Let's sing a song we can sing together. And the Scots yell back in this dialogue. The Scots yell back, we would rather die than sing in German. And the Germans yell back, if you tried, it would kill us. joke. And in this particular line of the Western Front, that joke was all it took. Because a moment later, a German yelled, "You don't shoot. We won't shoot." And there's stillness. And then he stands up. He stands up with his hands, not like this, like this. I'm not surrendering, but I'm unarmed. And nobody shoots him. And he walks into the middle of no man's land. And he stands there for a minute. Can you imagine? And he says, "Gentlemen," this is the quote, "Gentlemen, will no one come and meet me? I am waiting." And one of the Brits says to his officer, "Can I go?" And he doesn't answer him. He's like, this is not in the... I mean, these trenches alone are a big fucking surprise. I'm going to be honest. I don't know. And while they're fucking talking about it, some guy from London stands up and walks out on his own. Hello. And he shakes his hand. And they slowly, on both sides, do something, man, they haven't done in 5 months. They just stand up and look at each other and then slowly walk out into no man's land. Like, what the fuck? Guys, this happened spontaneously and sporadically all along the Western Front. What happened next varies, but I'll spoiler alert for you. None of it's violent. This story does not end with them shooting each other, okay? In fact, they share cigarettes. There's not a ton of photos, but I have some. You can tell they're from opposing sides by the shape of their helmets, right? And they started to notice the difference, and they did not speak the language. And who did, very interestingly, that some of the Germans had worked as cab drivers and waiters in London. So some of them knew a little English, and some of them, this is crazy, one of the guys met his old barber. I was like, fucking Fritz! I mean it. And he sat down to get a shave. I wish I was lying. And the guy says, "I'm shaving you, I could cut your throat, save some bullets." That's a real story. They shake hands. This moment is, in fact, immortalized in a statue. They shake hands. "Hi, Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas," right? And in what I think is one of the most stunning, right? They play soccer. So it starts when they're all sort of out there like, all right. And in one place, a rabbit ran out, because these are farmers' fields that they're standing in. And they instinctually, because they are most of them boys, right? Young rural boys. They go like, "Oh, fucking rabbit." And they all just start to chase the rabbit, and it's fun, and it's funny. And shortly after that, a ball, soccer ball, gets thrown out. And one of the things I love most about this particular picture is that what happened right before this is they buried each other's dead. Because it was really hard in the daylight of Christmas Day to see the carnage around them. And so my particular favorite quote, this comes from a British colonel. He says, "We gravely saluted each other. A lieutenant on the other side recalled, and then I pointed to 9 dead Germans lying in the minefield and suggested burying them, which both sides proceeded to do. We gave them some wooden crosses, which completely won them over, and soon the men were on the best of terms and laughing." Right? So, how does it end? Right? I told you they don't start shooting at each other. Some people did get shot. That's one of my favorite parts. Every once in a while, some guy would be like, a sniper would fire, and they'd be like, "Wow! Wow!" And the sniper would be like, "I feel like, what? Wow?" I feel like, wow. And they're like, "We're playing soccer, you dick." And then they'd like wheel off the guy who got, some people got killed and they were like, this isn't fair, man, But it didn't dissolve. It didn't do the thing I was imagining and maybe you were imagining, which is everyone sort of wakes up and goes, oh yeah, we're fucking supposed to kill each other, right? Instead, they did what you do in normal life, which is who's shooting at us? Why would you shoot at us, right? So they bury each other's dead, right? And then they play. And when it's done, they know, okay, Boxing Day, for those of you who celebrate Boxing Day, it's almost as good as Christmas. And in some of those places, right, it was more important than Christmas. So it bled over a little bit into the next day. There was some suspicious lack of firing. But commanders start coming through and being like, hello, we are at war. It is vitally important that we start killing each other again, and right now would be great. Right? And you might be thinking, right, inevitable. It's inevitable that this peace would end. It's not. It was really hard for them to get these guys to start killing each other again. In one of the German places, they mutinied. The guy came in, he was like, right, fire. And they were like, on those guys? And they almost quit, mutinied. Court-martial me, I won't do it, right? In other places, they warned each other, our commander's coming through tomorrow. We're going to have to shoot at you a little bit, right? We're really sorry about this. We'll aim as high as we can. Literally warning each other back and forth. There was always a strategy of rotating the front, but it was always done because of casualties and exhaustion. After the Christmas miracle of World War I, rotating a stagnant front became important, so we never had peace like this again. Because of how easy it is to actually see the humanity of people once you're up close with them, right? So what is the moral of the story, right? One of the most frustrating things about researching this particular history was how many of the historians said, what a stupid little moment. What an insignificant, silly little moment. We don't mention it for a reason. It's because it's dumb. Because what happens after this is 5 more years of war. Those trenches I showed you, they just do that for 5 years. Then we get chemical weapons. About 6 months after that, we start melting each other's faces off inside these holes. It just gets worse and worse and worse. But it was the last World War we ever, no, right? And then we do it again. And so in hindsight, we look at these stupid fucking moments in human history and we go, dumb, childlike, it's silly, it's meaningless. And I disagree enthusiastically, right? I believe that, in fact, making peace is inevitable and seeing the humanity in each other is easy. Making war is and should be hard. Because about a mile off of the Western Front, there was a soldier, a German soldier, who didn't participate in this truce, but he had heard about it. And he fucking hated it. And he said, oh, I hate this. How dare you? It is a violation to your oath as a soldier. It is a violation to your oath as a German. And his name was Adolf Hitler. He didn't think it was silly or stupid. He thought it was dangerous and awful and egregious. And maybe that alone is a good endorsement, right, on why we should do it. And there were other warmongers. Not everyone who witnessed this wrote about it glowingly. There were a lot of people who wrote in their diaries, these squibs, these weenies, these boys, these children running out there and playing games. I'm furious. I can't wait to start slitting throats again. But they also said how they felt during this moment was small. I felt so small. I felt so insignificant. I felt like I couldn't do anything, which is how they should feel. That's how they should feel. And it's easy to make them feel that way. We have the recipe. I just told you. If you need to make peace, you need a song, a joke, a smoke, and a game. Right? That's it. That's it. If these guys can do it, we can do it. A song, a joke, a smoke, and a game, man. And if you recall, when I came out here, girl, I danced to a song. There have been jokes. They were peppered with trench warfare talk, but there were jokes. The smoke, I'm way ahead of you. Me and the Dish Boys have a tradition here at Flowers. And the games, I intend to begin right now. Hit it, Joe. Hit it, Joe. Hey, ow. Boom, boom. Woo.
Thanks again to everyone who was able to be there in person, man, and to you for joining us here. Oh, it's so much fun, and I cannot wait to see you at the next one. As for me, listen, the H in HILF stands for holiday. Okay, for the next few weeks, the family is heading into the snows of the Midwest, and then we're taking the long and scenic way home via car. Like kind of a Griswold fantasy, I guess. I'll let you know how it all pans out. The next new episode and your next new season will debut in January, and we got a whole new lineup of history's hottest girl. I'm gonna HILF No Kum Suk, the North Korean fighter pilot who defected to the U.S. with a MiG-15 in the 50s. Crazy. I'm going on a deep dive on Jack Parsons, and I do it with someone who currently works at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Guys, it's going to be amazing. Until then, our theme song was composed and performed, of course, by Kat Perkins. A reminder that you can find my sources, links to the books, documentaries, and articles I reference in the summary of this episode or by emailing us, hilfpodcast@gmail.com, or messaging us on social media @hilfpodcast. If you'd like to leave a little cash on the nightstand, man, I am very grateful. You can find me on Patreon or buy me a coffee. Links to these and more are all in the show notes. This has been HILF, History I'd Like to Fuck with Dawn Brody. I'm Dawn Brody, reminding you that history is a party and everybody's coming.